Okay, what is up? This is my first video. Obviously you saw the title. I'll be going over task A of the fundamentals of instruction for your certified flight instructor check ride. So right here, we'll just get right into it. We got the flight instructor ACS, latest edition. And then we're going over task A, so we'll just go down to right here. We got fundamentals of instruction, task A. I will say up here in the notes, it says task E and F must be selected. We'll go over those later. I was planning on going through every part of the FOI, and then a lot of the main parts of the rest of the check ride that you'll have to go over for your oral. So yeah, let's just get into it. So here we have task A, effects of human behavior in communication on the learning process. There we go. And yeah, everything in here is gonna be about just like basic human needs, stuff like that, how people learn and how they communicate, and like just the very bare bones of like human learning and behavior, relationships like that. So first, we'll just go through all of these elements of human behavior, including the definition of human behavior. So right here, human behavior is the way people act and react in response to internal and external stimuli. Plain and simple, just human behavior is just the way people interact with each other based on other things that happen to them. So that's human behavior. And then we have instructor and learner relationship. So this is super important. Obviously, we're working on our fundamentals of instruction. So it's not just like whenever we go over this stuff, if you're going over it in your for your check ride, you want to relate everything that you're talking about to being a flight instructor. So here, a lot of the FOI is just like about teaching in general, but you'll want to relate all of this stuff to being a flight instructor. So instructor learner relationship. So if I'm the instructor and I have a student, that relationship's going to be super important. You want that to be comfortable, and I like to say right here, I put be a chameleon. So every student's going to be different, so you want to change how you teach each student, how like that environment looks. Like if I'm with someone I'm very comfortable with, I'm not going to be like 100% professional the entire time. I might be a little more comfortable, use maybe some slang and different things like that would make sense to them. But if I'm with a brand new student or even an older student, like I'm going to treat them completely different. So that relationship, super important. And then here we have motivation. So here, 100%, this is going to be on the check ride, is your Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So right there, human motivation and human needs. I remember PS, BS, CS. So this goes in a tier. It starts from here, psychology or physiological needs. That's like the most important. And then as you go down, it starts with physiological, and then it goes up to security. I can look up the yeah, so here's that. This is what it looks like. So physiological, and then as you get higher, it becomes not as important, but still important, but you have to start at the bottom. So here we have physiological. Everyone needs food, water, sleep, fatigue. Very basic. If you don't have those things, how are you supposed to learn in an airplane? You're hungry. Security, if you don't feel safe, we're in an airplane. A lot of people won't feel safe, so just make sure you're making sure you're making the student feel comfortable, making them feel safe. We have all of our documents checked out. We have weight and balance. We did all that. They just feel very safe in the airplane. You're not flying, in crazy windy weather because they just make them very uncomfortable. And then belonging. So friendship, instructor shows that they want to be there. So as the instructor, I want to make them feel like I'm instructing you, but I want to have a friendship. Like this has to be two ways. And then self-esteem. So they have to be, well, I guess anybody, but you want to make sure that they have a strong self-esteem, like they're able to do this. If you're not reassuring them, like if you're trying to teach them something and you're just not giving them any confidence, you're not giving them any like reward when they do well, then it's going to be hard for them to keep learning or want to keep learning. And then cognitive and aesthetic, not everyone puts that in theirs. This one does not have it, but it's in like the newer Maslow's hierarchy or updated version. The student, they want to keep learning, and they like love the art of aviation. They love what they're doing. They desire to learn more, essentially. So aesthetic, maybe that's like they just like posting it on Instagram or on their story or whatever. Younger kids nowadays like doing that, or like they're just in love with aviation in general. And then self-actualization is just the student achieves their full potential. So um, they're able to feel like this is what they're supposed to do, and yeah, they just realize that um, this is what they should be doing, essentially. Um, and then there was human needs, motivation, human needs, and then defense mechanisms. So this one I do Dr. FCPR. He'll definitely ask you these too. So denial, the student denies they had a bad performance. So, you go up and you do some maneuvers and maybe some bad landings, and you're like, yeah, those weren't very bad landings. And they just don't even accept that. And these are all subconscious. So they just subconsciously, it's a defense mechanism. So they know they did it bad, but subconsciously, they deny that they had a bad performance, flight or ground. And then we have rationalization. The student is just making excuses for a bad performance. So if you go up and do a bunch of stuff and it's like, it was just so windy that day. It was, the sun was in my eyes during that steep turn, or my back's just been killing me. It was just making an excuse for whatever they can. If I do this, everyone does that. And then displacement, placing the blame on another person for failure. So let's say I just failed my check ride, and I totally missed something in the landing or the oral or whatever, and I'm just like going to my friends like, man, my instructor just like, he completely missed it, like I didn't fail, like he failed me, that kind of thing. You're just placing that blame on on your instructor. And then you have repression, so pressing down fear, worry for another time. Everybody does this one. So like you just have something really bad happen, like if you fail your check ride, like you're just gonna subconsciously just push that down. And then fantasy, so this is just someone who's kind of delusional. They're thinking too far in the future. Maybe they're working on their commercial or something, and they're talking about like airlines, like they're just way too ahead of where they need to be, or they pretend their performance was better. Like if they're just kind of way too much confidence for what they have, like if you're at the private level, and they do a steep turn, that was like 200 feet off, but like they're just talking like they just did something amazing. Like that's not bad, but it's like they're just fantasizing that they did a great job when they, I don't know, maybe didn't do as well. And then compensation. So talking about the positives of their performance. I sometimes I'll do this to myself, and so it's like if you go up and do maneuvers, and then you come back and you do some really bad landings, and like maybe you just did not hit any of your spots on your short field, power off 180, whatever. But then so your instructor's going over, and you're like, but I mean, my maneuvers were pretty good though. Like I hit my steep turn like perfectly. It's like, well, we have to do all of it well, and you had bad landing, so you're just compensating by um, talking about the positives. And then projection, so placing the blame, placing, projecting blame for their own failures. Oh, actually, projection. Okay, okay, so I actually messed this up. So displacement is if one person blames something. So let's say I'm in like I failed my check ride, and my instructor, or instead of getting upset with the DPE that failed me, because that's who I'm upset about, I just failed my check ride. Displacement would be placing blame, or placing my emotions onto someone else. So I mean, terrible example, but like a guy is like really stressed off at work, and like maybe takes it out on his wife or kids or someone at home, like just taking that anger or emotion and putting it onto someone else, where that's where I messed it up. Projecting is just that's what I said for displacement, but just projecting blame for your own failures. So like if I fail my check ride, I blame it on the DPE, or I blame it on my CFI. And then reaction formation is just reacting in a different way than you actually feel. This one, I mean, everybody does this, it's like, um, I keep coming back to the check ride failure, but it's like if you fail your check ride, and you're like so down about it, and then people are like, how'd it go? Or are you okay? And you're just like, it's whatever, you're just like brushing it off, acting like you're not actually feeling that way, or you're just hiding your true emotions. Okay, that's your defense mechanisms. Then we get to our next thing is learner emotional reactions. So we'll go over anxiety. Anxiety is just a feeling of worry, nervousness, unease, typically about an imminent event or something with an uncertain outcome. Most significantly, or most significant factor affecting stress. And then here's some of your stress reactions. I just did NAS for this one. So you have your normal reaction. So if you're like with a student and you'll see all three of these are like the possibilities. So normal reaction, during flight, they respond rapidly. This is what you want to see out of a student. So they're using like their natural reaction, like they're hyper focused, something like that. That's a normal reaction, like to stress. Where you might get abnormal reactions. This one is pre-sim, right there, and that would be painstaking self-control, rapid change in emotion. So just like they're kind of all over the place. Extreme over cooperation. So it's like maybe they don't exactly know everything, but they're trying to mess with the GPS, and they're trying to fly, and like using it's just like obviously they're overstressed. Severe anger, inappropriate laughter or singing. I've never seen that, but apparently if they just start singing, I could see laughing, overly stressed. And then marked change in mood, which would be like a rapid change in emotion. But and then you have your serious reaction. And this is one where if you see anything like this would be like potentially like a mental issue with the student. If you ever see like someone that might put other people's lives in danger, you want to take that student and obviously act cautiously, but or even if they want to put someone else in danger, they want to put themselves in danger, something like that. Tell another instructor, maybe tell your chief CFI, just let them know, yeah, so they might have like PTSD, maybe discuss ending their flight training. You have to be careful with that just because, if it is to a severe um, level, then just be careful dealing with them. But yeah, mental health problems, serious reaction. Um, Anxiety and stress. Okay. And then now we have the learner emotional reactions, and this will be B, C, D, and E. So these are things that just negatively affect the learner. Um, so this one I use WEPA, and it's just in a different order because I didn't want to do EUPA or whatever. So WEPA is worry. So the student worries and stress can affect their ability to learn. So if they're, just if they're worried, they can't learn as much. If they're being impatient, looking to the future too much, kind of goes back to like the fantasy um, defense mechanism. But if they're just impatient, like they want to just start, maybe they want to start skipping stuff, or especially for a private student, I saw it a lot where like other kids would want to, like, they wanted to get to their solo so bad, and like they would be like, can I do it now? Can I do it now? But it was just, just slow down. We'll get to it. Go through your stuff. Um, and then physical fatigue and lack of nutrition can affect the student's performance. That's also Maslow's hierarchy. So that bottom one is just food, water, stuff like that. You need that stuff to learn. And then apathy. So a bad instructor can create apathy for the student, or the student has apathy for the instructor. So if as the instructor, I'm not showing up prepared. I don't know. Like, if anytime you ask me a question, like, I don't know. Or if you've ever asked your instructor something and he gave you the wrong information, and then you later learn that he was wrong, it can create that apathy towards the instructor, and then it's hard to learn in the future. Basic elements of communication. Okay, so we did it. Impatience and apathy. Okay, basic elements of communication. Okay, I didn't put it in here, but teaching the adult learner. So for this one, teaching the adult learner would be, obviously they're much older, so it could be tough for someone like me. I'm only 22, so if I have to teach, someone who's 40 or older, they might not trust that I am qualified to be teaching them, like he's just a kid or whatever. Um, but just like reassuring them that, I'm qualified, I passed my CFI, I'm just qualified to be there. Also, adult learners have more experience. So if you're teaching a kid who's like 17, 18 years old, like he's going to have more to use to learn everything. So just try and get to know what they know. And sometimes they're easier. Sometimes they're also stuck in their ways. So it can be harder to teach those people. So yeah, just the adult learner. Effective communication. Here's the basic elements of communication. You have SSR, so your source is going to be, I would be the source if I'm the instructor, or whatever is providing that information is the source. The symbol, let's say I'm using like a slideshow, or I'm using, my lesson plans, that would be the symbols. And then the receiver would be the student. And yeah. Basic elements of communication. We'll do the barriers of communication here. Oh, I just did that. Okay. Barriers to effective communication. This is COIL. I would also have this memorized. So C is confusion. So just using confusing verbiage, Like I remember I got this mixed up when I was flying because my instructor would always be like, um, you're looking for the stall, and I was like all I knew was a car stall, and like I was like, oh, is the engine just gonna cut out? So it's like you have to really be careful using confusing verbiage that can, cross over that. It could mean two things. A lot of things in aviation are kind of meshed with other things, so um, try to avoid doing that overuse of abstraction. So language is too vague. So if I'm talking to a student, I'm like, go pre-flight the airplane, and they're pre-solo. It's like, what does that even mean? Like, what is a pre-flight? How do I do that? The plane, like which plane? There's a million planes out there. It's like, don't be too vague in what you are communicating with the student. Interference. So this just impedes focus. So make sure that the student, if you are trying to teach them something, that they're focused on that one thing. For example, I used to have my headphones had Bluetooth in it, so I could listen to music, and my instructor would always like listen to music during the lesson, and so I would try to do that. And then when we would teach, like I would just be listening to my music, or when we would be flying, I would like try to listen to music, and it made it like impossible to pay attention and like actually focus and do well during the flight. So maybe if you have a student trying to do that, just be like, just turn it off for a little bit. We'll do some maneuvers, listen to it in your car. Um, Lack of common experience. So the instructor uses common language with a private student. It's just an example. Yeah, this is just lack of common experience. So if I'm trying to teach someone, I'm using an example, like if someone does not play sports at all and I play sports, and I'm trying to use like something with golf to relate it to them in a certain way, and it's just not connecting. It's like you have to use that common experience, find what they know, because if you are, or even if you're just saying aviation stuff, they're not gonna know VFR, IFR. They like even something that simple could just like make no sense. So it's like you have to use common experience, and then developing communication skills. This one is the LICR acronym. So listening to students, students feel understood and satisfied with their training. This one's really important. If you just, there's a lot of instructors that are out there just trying to build hours. So it's like they might just show up and it's just another student, and they're not really listening. They're just kind of skating by, like, let's go fly, get my hours. Okay, now you're done. It's like, no, you should, sit down, be a good instructor, listen to the student, really care what they have to say, what they have to ask. And then instructional communication is the I. So teach in a way that the student understands. Um, Same thing, lack of just use common experience, use stuff that they understand, like take what I know and break it down as much as I can so it makes sense to them. And yeah, that'll be the easiest way for them to learn or understand, because if you're using abstract or vague everything, it's not going to make sense. They're not going to be able to learn. And then questioning, just ask good questions, open-ended, and then like the five, is it five W's? Who, what, where, when, and why. Yeah, just good like if I'm asking, like, don't ask like trick questions. Just like if you're pre-flying, just be like, what's this? Like there's an antenna sticking off the back. Like what's that? What's that V looking antenna off the tail? Or like why is the prop like rotated? Why is there like a curve in the prop? Just stuff like that. Where would you find this document? Or if just simple stuff like that, and not anything. You're not trying to trick the student, essentially. And then instructional enhancement. So always improve your knowledge and teaching skills. Um, I mean, they big phrase is always a good pilot is always learning, and that's 100% true. I mean, you can ask any airline pilot, and they'll tell you that every time they fly, they probably go through something new or learn something new. But it's also important to just keep expanding your knowledge, especially as an instructor. There's constantly like new ACs coming out. There's new documents coming out. Like for the CFI, it just changed from the PTS to the ACS. So, learning that, following that. If I've had instructors that are trying to teach me the new ACS and they've never even looked at it, because they were used to the PTS, which they're not that much different, but still just constantly going through it. And then the last one is role playing. So using scenario based training, or the student explains it to me. So the best way that a student could explain that they know something to me is if if they can explain it to me, like if I'm just like, what's the oil for, like, and they can explain to me, it cleans the engine, it lubricates the engine. If he can explain something like that, then that lets me know that he understands. And then if I ask him like a scenario based question, something with the oil again, like if on takeoff, your oil temperature like starts to like get a little high, like what can you do? So give them a scenario like that, and they can be like, okay, just I would lower the nose, get more airflow over the engine, and then that'll lower the oil temperature. I'm like, perfect. You understand that scenario. You need to lower the nose, and that makes sense to me that you understand that. And I think that is it. That is everything for task A. Kind of a shorter one, but that one's pretty important. I would definitely know Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Just have that one memorized, because he'll definitely ask you that. Defense mechanisms. Those can be a little confusing. I mean, I messed up the projection and displacement. Some of them are very similar. I mean, we all kind of know what anxiety and stress are. And yeah, coil, that's a big one. And yeah, that's about it. I'm gonna do B next. I have this whole document that I made that I tried to put a acronym for every single one of them, and if I couldn't, then I just put like a definition. So like human behavior, I just highlighted those. If you need this document or something, I can probably put it in the link, turn it into a doc, or I just have it on Google Docs, but I can create a Word document or something and post it if that would help you, or you can just copy right off of here, whatever I can do to help anyone out there. But yeah, thanks for watching. I should come out with the rest of these sooner or later. And yeah, thanks for watching.